welcome to Cajun Prairie Knits, episode 2. My name is Kim, and you can find me on Ravelry as Jane Austen, all one word, and as J Austin 1775 on Instagram. Um, Thank you for watching. I think I had a handful of people watch the first video, and I think I have 7 subscribers, so yay. um, but thank you very much if you did watch, and really appreciate it. And it's been a week since the last episode, and I didn't think I would have enough to talk about, but apparently I do. I have quite a few things to talk about. Hopefully it won't be too long, and let's see. Let's get started. I am wearing a thrift store sweater, and I really like it. It's super fine gauge. Would never be able to knit anything like this. It's basically like thread, but it's very warm, and I wear it around the house all the time. And it's been really warm this week, except for today. Today it's cooled off a little bit again. But since it was so warm, I washed 7 sweaters, I think, the other day and put them all outside to dry since it was in the 70s. And so now all my sweaters are clean again. And around my neck, I have a cowl I made 2014. This is a Lee Meredith design, Lethal on Ravelry, and it's from the Lethal Adventure Knitting cowl, the mystery cowl. I think that one's called the Mysterious Trunk. If you haven't looked at Lethal's patterns, they're very interesting, and she's probably my other favorite. If Stephen West does a knit along, I do that one. If Lee does one, I usually do it. That's the only two that I love mysteries of any type, but those are the only two that I ever, if they do one, I do it because they're always fun. And they both have very interesting construction styles, and I love that. So, anyway, this one is doubled, and I did it in hand spun. It's a long loop that I doubled up, and it's really hard to see the pattern on this one because it's really fuzzy. I think there's some alpaca in this yarn. It was 2 different bats, and so there's all kinds of things, and it was Inglenook fibers, and I don't remember the names of the bat colors, but it's very warm, very soft. But I made another one so you can see the pattern a little bit better on this one. The Adventure Cowl, if you like, it's sort of like choose your own adventure books that they used to have. I don't know if they still have those, but when I was a kid, they had choose your own adventure books where you start the story, and then, do you want this to happen? Go to this page. It's sort of like that. You can pick your own. She has all these different stitch patterns that you can do, and you can pick the order you want to do them in. You can pick one and do it the whole time. You can pick different shapes. You can use any yarn you want, any size, any gauge. It is limitless choices just about. So I like that. I like being able to do whatever I want. You can totally do it random. She has like these little games you can do to randomly pick the stitch patterns, and I don't usually do that because I like to pick the order that the things go in, but I do like having all the choices. So anyway, everybody's projects looked completely different. This one was, you could knit, it was knit flat. It's on the bias, and this one's exactly the same. Like a strip, and then I just sewed it together into a loop to make a cowl. But you could have just left it as a scarf if you wanted to. But you can see a little bit of, this is where I sewed it together down this line right here. But you can see some of the stitch patterns And this one was really fun. It was sort of based on astrology, so the stitch patterns were named after different constellations, and there was like a moon one, and I think there was the sun, and that's mine, right? I think that one. Let me see. No, that's not mine. This one's mine, right here. That's the Scorpio one. But it was really fun. I don't usually knit rectangles. I find them really boring. So Lee gets me to knit rectangles because she makes them fun. So that's the Adventure Cal. She has 3 of those different books out. I've done all of them, 1, 2, and 3, and I don't think she's gonna be doing them anymore, which is really sad. Um, I'm sure it was a ton of work to do. I mean, it had to be she's like a math genius. It had to be a crazy amount of work, and I don't think she made enough money off of it to take up that much time to work on it. So maybe a lot of people will go buy it, so she'll do another one. But this is what, I don't know if you can see that. That's what it looks like, and it comes with all. You can make a shawl. This one, I think they were all pretty much neck wear. There were shawls. There were different shapes of strips or loops, and then triangles. So you can make the triangle into a big shawl, or you could make it like a head wrap, or and there was even like just a rectangle, and you could do 2 of them, sew them together, and make a shirt. Anyway, check out Lethal if you haven't seen her patterns before. I would say they're not necessarily, if you're a brand new knitter, she has a lot of, I always learn all kinds of things. She likes twisted stitches and cables and lace and color work, and it might be a little too many choices for a new knitter, I think. So maybe check out one of her regular patterns first, but I love them. Okay, next up I have a little story. So my parents' dog got my hand spun mitts. Just totally my fault because I was walking my dogs and we were running, and apparently my mittens fell out my coat pocket. I didn't even notice. And then, and the next day maybe, or the day after, it had warmed up, so I wasn't really looking for them. But I went to my parents' house, and on the table was one of my mittens with the cuff eaten, big hole out of the cuff. So yeah, Lucy ate my mitten. And then I didn't know where the other one was, so I was really sad. And I went out and walked my dogs, and when I was walking along the trail, I found my other mitten. And luckily Lucy hadn't found that one, so that one was fine. This is the one that she didn't eat. They are some of the very early hand spun that I made, that I used for these, and I used a pattern up to here, and then I didn't want a regular mitten. I wanted I always call them fingerless mitts, but mittens don't have fingers, so I call them topless mitts. I wanted something where I could use my fingers. So I just made a really long ribbing, and then I can fold it down and wear it like that. But my thumbs get really cold, so I made a regular thumb on it. So they're very utilitarian, and I really like them. I think I used it's called the Warmest Mittens pattern. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So that one's okay. This is the one the dog ate. So of course she ate the cast on edge. So, and it was these are BFL, and they were a little bit felty because they're about, I think, well, one's a year older than the other one because I knit one at the end of the winter, and then I didn't really need a mitten during the rest of spring and summer and fall. So when the fall came around and started getting cold again, I knit the other one. So they're about a year apart. And I don't know which is which. But anyway, she ate the cast on edge. So I had to unpick it, which took forever. Took maybe 2 hours to undo. And what I ended up doing is she had eaten up to maybe about here. So this part was okay, but I really couldn't see where or how to pick up the between in the ribbing. So I just went all the way back down to here where the cuff started and picked up stitches all the way around on my DP ends, then finished unraveling the whole cuff, and then I knit the new cuff, and that was no problem. And luckily I had some of this yarn left. And I still have a little bit more, so if something happens again, I could do maybe one more cuff. That's about how much I have left. So that one fits now, and I was really happy about that. So that's my mittens. Let's see. Next thing I have also has an issue. I have 3 things with issues this week. This is my sock yarn blanket, and it's a nice 2-gallon Ziploc bag. I do have a nice Notions pouch. This is I got on vacation also from the Strand in New York, which is a crazy awesome bookstore. And I love this bag. Okay, so here's my little blanket. I don't have very much done. It's not too big, but I do really like it. And if you'll notice over here, there's a square missing. I did have a square there, but I noticed when I was knitting this one, the last one I knit, that there was a hole in it. So I took it out. It was on a corner, so it was easy to take out. Then I checked all the other ones, and there's a hole. There's a hole in this one too. I don't know what happened, and I'm hoping maybe if when it was folded, that those 2 squares would have been next to each other, and I accidentally cut it somehow. Because I checked all the other squares and there's no holes anywhere else. And I checked the yarn from those, got both of those yarns in the same place. They were little sort of minis from Jimmy Beans of Tosh Merino Light. So I thought maybe there's something wrong with the yarn, but the rest that I have left of them looks fine. And I don't remember there being any weak spots or holes or anything whenever I knitted with it originally. So I don't know what happened, but this one's in the middle, so I don't know what to do. I can't really mend it. It's right on the decrease line, and I certainly wouldn't mind knitting a new one in that spot, but I could easily undo where I picked up the stitches, but these were picked up along this square, so I'm afraid they'll unravel if I undo it, if you know what I mean. So if anybody has any ideas how I could take that square out and not have these squares unravel, that would be great, because I'm not sure how to do that. I'll have to think about it some more. I might have to maybe put these stitches on a holder on a needle and then unravel it. And I don't know, maybe I'll just bind them off, knit a new square, and then seam that part. That's all I can think of. So if you have a better idea, let me know. But yes, so I could call it a sock yarn blanket, but only one of these squares was ever socks, because I don't really knit socks anymore. I can't really knit anything at a really tight gauge. It aggravates my wrist. So fortunately, you won't see any socks on this show. But so this is really a shawl yarn blanket because almost all of these were shawls. um, but I have a lot of Madeline Tosh in there. There's a Brooklyn tweed loft. This is a hand spun square, and then this one is also a hand spun. This one was a natural dyed yarn. Then I have this crazy one I dyed with Kool-Aid. And yeah, they're all from my projects except for the orange square, which I got in a swap that I did. So, and I really like the way that one looks because I don't really have any orange yarn, so that was really nice to have in there. So that's my shawl yarn blanket. And I just sort of every once in a while I'll feel like knitting on it and I'll get it out, and usually it's at night before I go to bed. I'll maybe do a square because I don't have to think about it very much. And these are the yarns that I haven't used yet that are from my scraps that are in there. Okay, and next I did a little bit on my Whispering Island by Helen Stewart. I think I put a little marker in somewhere. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. This little stitch marker. I love these. I think I got these from Fringe. But I did these rows right here, which doesn't look like a whole lot, but they're very long rows, and I have 10 rows left in the bind off. So that's how much I have done this week. I think I did a lot of it while I was watching Downton Abbey. Yeah. And this had an issue with this one too. I had a spot where I joined the yarn in the natural color, where I did a spit splice basically, and it didn't quite take in part of it, and so there was like a spot where it was just one ply, and then I had all the other plies were kind of sticking out like this, so I only had one ply on the stitch marker, on the stitch, you know what I mean, that was actually connected to the rest of the knitting. Where'd that little marker go? Okay, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, right, I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can't, but right here, that's where that was happening. And to fix it, I have like a needle felting. It looks like a little flat brush and a needle felting needle, which when I thought I might try needle felting, which hasn't really taken, but I still had all the supplies. So I laid my shawl on top of that little brush, and then I just needle felted the pieces that were sticking up together into this area, and it's completely solid now, so I don't think it will unravel at all, and it doesn't show too much. So that was an easy fix. That just took a couple of minutes, and this is still a lot of fun. And I will be, I never talk about my needles, but these are the Knit Picks Caspian needles, and I got these last year, I think, or the year before, I can't remember. And I have the rainbow colored ones, was my first set of interchangeables, and I have had those for quite a long time, and one or two of the cables were starting to break, and I was needing some extra tips, so I just got a new set, and I love these. The green is really pretty. So this is almost, I'm either going to be using the rainbow ones or these. Every once in a while, I'll have some bamboo needles. I have one pair of carbons just because I wanted to try it. And they're okay. I like them all right. Not enough to buy a set because it was $15 for one needle, and that's a little too expensive for me. So, but I did like them. I don't usually use metal needles because I hurt my hands and they're a little too slippery for me. But I have some circular metal needles that I'll use. That's okay too. All right, next I have, this is my favorite project bag. This is, I got it at Fringe Supply. It's a bento bag. And I did a few more rows on my Bruce hat. Not too many. I maybe that much. So it looks the same. It's good to do if you don't want to think about what you're doing. And then I have my Marshall cardigan. Sorry. Oh, here's my Jane Austen mug. And it's got quotes all over it. Also got that at the Strand when we were there. And Yorkshire breakfast tea again. So here's my other bento bag. So now you've seen all my bags. So there's the Marshall by Nora Gone. And what I did this week is I measured out where the buttons are gonna go, and it's supposed to have 7 buttons on the button band, but I only have 6 because I can't really find. You have to have 2 different sizes, and you need 7 of one size. Where is it? And 3 of the other size. I just can't find. I couldn't find what I wanted in the right sizes and quantities in the same color. So what I did was, when we were at Goodwill one time, I found a blazer that had the buttons I wanted, and I bought that, and then I cut all the buttons off. So these are the buttons. They're like the leather, but these aren't actually leather, but it's that look. So, but there were only 6 of the ones I needed to go up and down. I have plenty of the other size, but for the pockets. So I just said, well, since I probably won't be able to button it anyway, it won't matter if I have 6 instead of 7. So I just measured it out for 6 buttons instead of 7. And I'm just marked. One's got a stitch marker. Yeah. And the rest are just little strips of waist yarn that I threaded through where I thought they needed to go. And that one is not supposed to be there. Yeah. And I started the last piece. So here's the right front. And I've done 2 buttonholes so far. And there's the little brioche section. And it's not bad. I wrote out all the, let me show you. It won't make any sense. I'm not giving anything away, but so that I know what I'm doing, this is kind of what I did. So it tells me what I need to do, and I can just mark it off as I go. So that it's not giving anything away from the pattern. You can't tell anything from that. But it's not difficult. The only tricky part is right here. This is actually you have to do a little bit of intarsia right here to switch between the loft and the shelter back and forth, which requires me to think a little bit. because you're also doing like a purl and a knit at the same spot, and you have to twist the yarn. But that's the only. It's not hard. I just have to think about it a little bit whenever I get to that spot. But it's still very fun to knit, and hopefully I will finish it pretty soon. Okay. What else? Oh, I wore this today because I started a new lethal. It's sort of a mystery, sort of not. She has this, instead of doing the adventure cow, she's doing a VIP hat club. So you get 6 hat patterns throughout the year, and when the pattern comes out, it's you get the whole pattern, but she doesn't put any pictures or anything in. So you can knit it for the first week as a mystery without knowing what the finished product will look like. So we got the first one yesterday. So I had to start that. And I picked out this green yarn, which has to do with another podcast. So this is some old yarn I had forever. It's the Stitch Nation by Debbie Stoller, the Full Sheep. It's a discontinued yarn, but it's 100% Peruvian wool. I think it's an Aran weight. But I picked it because of the color. And if you watch the Bakery Bears, you'll know they're doing a Choose Your Muppet. I love the Muppets. So I chose Kermit because, well, Kermit's either from Mississippi or Louisiana. He has a big family. I have a big family. We have a lot in common, Kermit and I. So that's my Muppet. And I had Kermit colored yarn. So I was like, well, I'll knit the hat in my Kermit yarn. So that'll work out. And also have a tradition of only using stash yarn for Lethal's patterns. I don't know why. I don't think I've ever bought yarn because you can use any yarn for most of them. They're very flexible that way. So I don't usually have to. I don't have a very big stash, but I don't usually have to buy anything whenever I knit her patterns. So I just had this hand spun I had just done. This was from Stash. This is Madeline Tosh. I didn't say that. Anyway, so if you happen to be doing that hat, and it's still a mystery until next Tuesday, and you don't want to see what it looks like, although mine's not very big, you can not look for a couple minutes. But this is what it looks like so far. So you do a provisional cast on, and then this is going to be a hat some kind of a way. It's got this garter stitch section, it's knit on the bias, and then there's all these, I don't know if it's the best choice of yarn, but it's got cables on this part. And I think that the hat is gonna go like this. I think it's gonna keep going around, and then you're gonna seam up, and I don't know. So it's gonna be really fun to figure out how this turns into a hat. So there's my Kermit hat and I think the pattern for this hat is called Provocateur. So there's that. And I think that's all the knitting I have. Yes. And I didn't work on anything else this week. That's all I worked on. Sorry. The other sort of knit along, craft along type thing I'm doing is the Craft for 20 with the Tiny Paper Foxes podcast. And what I'm going to be doing for that is anything creative for 20 minutes a day, as long as I work on something. That's my goal. I'm not picking a certain project. I'm just going to do, as long as I do something. And so far I have. And it's either, I think it's just been knitting so far. But spinning will come into that very soon. Which brings me to my next thing, which is mail. I got something exciting in the mail this week, and I got some fiber that I ordered, getting ready for when my wheel comes, which should be pretty soon. Next couple of weeks. They shipped it yesterday, I think. Although it's coming from the Netherlands, I don't know how long that's going to take to get here. But I ordered from, let me see if I can find the tag. My dog was trying to eat it, so I'm not sure where it went. Oh well, if I find it, I'll show you. But I got what I want to do when I get my wheel. This is my big plan. Is I want to spin enough yarn to knit a sweater for me. But I want to spin it out of Gulf Coast native fiber, which is a sheep native to the Gulf Coast where I live. And I thought that would be a cool thing to do. So I had to, it's Gulf Coast native is an endangered sheep breed. So it's not real common, and it's not easy to find. It wasn't super hard to find, but I found somebody on Etsy that had a larger quantity of it, so I ordered a pound of Gulf Coast native. I have absolutely no idea if that's enough to make a sweater out of or not. If it's not, I'll do like a 2-color sweater, and I'll spin something else to go with it. But while I was ordering that, they also had these little a sample pack, which came at 4 different 1-ounce packs of fiber, and one of them was also Gulf Coast native. So there's my little 1-ounce pack of Gulf Coast native, and then it came with a Rommeldale CVM in a gray, natural gray. This is really pretty. And then I got just the Rommeldale in a white, and a Shetland in a white, which I've never used Shetland before, and I really like the way this one feels. The other ones are very soft. This one's soft too, but it just has a different feel to it. So that should be fun to try and spin. And then, see if I can show you, it's going to be very crinkly. There's my pound of Gulf Coast native. And there's the tag. So I got this from Phoenix Fibers in South Carolina. And they're very fast. So I have to try it out, of course. And I don't have my wheel yet. So I took some of the Gulf Coast native from the little sample, and I spun it on one of my spindles. Let's show you what it looks like. I think it looks pretty similar to merino to me. It's not as soft as merino, but it's definitely not crunchy. It's plenty soft enough for me, but it's very springy and airy, and it smells really good. So I just took a little tiny piece, and one of my favorite spindles, which is this one. This is an Aegean from Jenkins. It's a Turkish spindle. And I love this spindle. If you're new to spinning, this was the Turkish was the ones that really caught with me, that I really liked. I keep cutting my head off, sorry. I tried, when I first started, I tried with regular drop, like a Top World drop spindle, and I did learn how to spin on one of those, but I didn't really enjoy it all that much, and I was fascinated with these Turkish spindles, and I eventually got one. I got a Jenkins, the big one, Swan. I think it's a Swan. Standard. It's pretty sure it's a bird. I think it's a swan, um, which I'll have to bring that one day. But it weighs about an ounce or a little more than an ounce, I think. So it's pretty heavy, but it's beautiful. It's got Osage orange wood, and I that really that's what I used to spin those mittens. That's what I used to spin that, and that it really clicked when I got that Turkish spindle, and I loved it. So then I got this was my second Jenkins. Also Jenkins, I don't have that many. I have three or four different brands of Turkish spindles. These are amazing. If you can get one, they're not easy to get. It's just one man making them, so he can't like spit out a ton of them. So they're not super easy to get. But I have three, and they're all great. This is my medium sized. It's 19 grams, and then I have a Finch, which is really my favorite one to spin on because it's a little bit lighter. It's smaller. It's the same style as this one where the whirl is kind of in the middle. Some of them have a low whirl. My Swan it's down here on the shaft, but they're all fun. They're all nice to knit on, to spin on. Anyway, so if you don't know how a Turkish spindle works, the shaft goes through this hole, and then it's got two arms. The bigger one has a hole in the middle, and then on the Aegean, there's a little groove right there. And some of the other ones, this is all the same size, but it stops whenever you put it in, and then you ready to spin. And then it's really easy to take the yarn is in a little ball already whenever you're done spinning it, so it's easy to ply from, which is another thing I didn't like about the top whirl. So after you finish spinning it, you have to take it off, and then you'd have to put it into a ball or put it on something else before you could ply with it, and there's just too many steps. I don't have that much time, so this cut out a step for me. So I love that. So I spun up a little bit, just really quick, so it's not very even or anything, and then I had to knit with it after, so I made a little sample of the Gulf Coast native, and I love it. It's really squishy. It's light. My stitches aren't very even because I didn't spin it very evenly, but yeah, I think it's going to work out great once I learn how to use my wheel. So I'm going to have to use something else to practice on before I get it. It could be a while before I get into that, doing that sweater quantity. But I'm very excited about it. Also, since this is white, I might do some natural dyeing with some of the skeins to have a little bit of a contrast color whenever I do the sweater, because I don't know if I want a white. I might something where the collar and the cuffs could be a different color, or maybe I'll do some color work. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Natural dyeing is another thing I like to do just for fun, and I like to just try out all kinds of different plants. We have a multitude of different types of plants around here, so my favorite thing to try out are invasive exotic plants, because I don't mind pulling those out to test and see what colors you get from those. I don't really like pulling out native plants, or I'll pick things off the ground, like leaves that have fallen, or a branch that falls after a storm. That's mostly how I end up doing my natural dyeing. I don't like collecting the plants, because I figure the animals need them. They have hard enough time out there, so I'll just do, if it's kind of an opportunity thing. If something happens and I see something new that's like, oh, this branch fell out of this tree, I haven't tried that before, then I'll try it. Or if it's an invasive exotic, or if it's something I grew specifically to dye with. That's normally how I do my dyeing. Let's see, I'm sorry about I have a tendency to shake my legs all the time, so I'm sorry if that's annoying. Okay, I think I got everything. I may put a couple of pictures in of some nature type things that I've seen this week, if I can remember to do that. And if you have any questions or you want to get in touch, send me a message on Ravelry or Instagram and I will get in touch with you. And thank you for watching. Bye.